Welcome back to New Eyes Open. Showing up another day for myself and for you, encouraging you to show up for yourself, whatever that looks like. And today, I will admit, I was making excuses for why I shouldn't show up. It's cold outside. We had an interruption to the middle of our day. Our schedule was kind of thrown out of whack because of that interruption, blah, 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 blah. You might be able to hear it, am congested from pollen and have all that going on. And then later, when I could come out here, I was like, no, because I haven't gone out. I usually go and take my walk and then turn on the heater or the air conditioner out here as I'm taking my walk and let the ambiance, the temperature get to a comfortable level for me while I'm taking my walk, and then come back in here and it's, either roasty toasty or cooled down, whichever one I need it to be, and I can get to work and focus. Well, I didn't do that today, and so I started to talk myself out of it again. I was like, it's going to be too cold out there. Like, I'm going to have a red nose by the time I'm even start recording. Once again, blah, 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 blah. And none of that matters. What matters is being here. And I'm wondering, what's going on with you? Like, what is going on in your world? What are the things that are calling you forward? And what are the excuses that are keeping you from doing those things or from taking the first baby step? Like, I think a lot of times I hesitate and procrastinate and pause because I think, I can see it's actually what I've helped entrepreneurs with in the past is seeing the 100 steps that it's going to take to get from here to their future and the vision, or their future vision, to make it a reality. And so often for myself, I'll see the 100 steps and get completely overwhelmed and forget everything I've ever told anyone else that I have worked with or mentored, or even my own kids. Like, it's the little steps every day. It's the staying consistent with what matters every day that leads up to, that makes up the 100 steps and leads up to the vision actually being completed in almost an effortless way. Like, if you figure out what it's going to take for your vision to become a reality, and you start taking one step at a time, and sometimes that means, yes, it's 100 steps, but maybe step one is actually 100 micro steps. And so you take one micro step a day towards that first 100th of the steps for the vision. And then my math was probably wrong on that, but whatever, you get the point. Just start taking the steps, whatever it is you're called to do. And this is what I'm called to do. And so I was also just thinking back about, the fact that some visions are dreams that we've held in our heart for a long, long time. And, we've gone the way of the world and done what everybody else expected of us. And because we've done that, we feel even further away from that dream, that vision that we had for our lives than maybe, let's say, back when we were, 17 or 18, and we were full of hope for that vision, that it was going to work out. And that doesn't mean that it's not possible, but it also doesn't mean that the same vision still applies. That just, sometimes it does. And that requires a heart check. And that requires spending some time in silence and quiet, undistracted, by yourself. And not necessarily by yourself, but with yourself. And so what's coming through right now is give you some tips on how I still do that, and how I used to do it as a mom with 3 young children. and a very busy schedule, I would, when I made a commitment to this, I know I've mentioned before, like the getting up before everybody else, even for 5 minutes of silent time, works wonders. But I also remember a time when that seemed too much. And even before I made the commitment to getting up for 5 minutes, there was a time when I realized, you know what? I have to wash the dishes. I have to sort the laundry before I put it into the washer. I have to put the laundry into the washer. And so I got into this habit of either filling those times that were just kind of like mundane tasks that I could do on autopilot, pretty much. My body just knew, could go through the motions. I would do those, and in my mind, I would occupy my mind with either gratitudes, or I'd have a conversation, be like, okay, I'm here, I'm paying attention. If there's something you want to tell me, now's the time. And then if I was washing the dishes, I would just focus on, instead of the negative talk, like, these dishes are so gross. Why do I have to be the only one doing the dishes? Why is this, this chore I have to do every day? And on and on and on we can go with, the negative talk about our duties and responsibilities that we have that sometimes aren't our favorite, oftentimes aren't our favorite. And instead, just flipping it and choosing how I spend that time with my thoughts, and making it a time for, the gratitudes. And just when I say gratitudes, like, it doesn't have to be anything grand. I know at one point I had lived in rural Mexico for a while, and at that time the washing machine that we had was not very efficient, and a lot of things couldn't be washed in there, like especially heavy fabrics like jeans. And so I washed clothes by hand. And so as I was sorting laundry and putting it into my, very economy version washing machine, and yet very, very nice compared to what I had in Mexico washing machine, I would use that time to just be like, I am so grateful for the modern appliances that I have that help make my workday a lot more efficient. I am so grateful that I have running water. I am so grateful that my sink to wash my dishes is within my house, and my house is a temperature controlled environment, and I have hot water. And so it can be just those little things that we often take for granted, but flipping the script from negativity and like, I have to do this again mindset to, wow, I am so grateful I get to do this, and I get to do it in luxury. And even if it's not luxury per se in your definition of luxury, it is luxury in somebody's definition, I guarantee you. And so if you live in America, caveat, if you are somewhere else, which if you are watching this on YouTube, then you do have access to luxuries in some way in your life. The telephone, internet access, it's a luxury. Not all of us have that. Not all of us around the world. And I know anyways, that's enough about that. But yeah, so just flipping that time around and using it for gratitudes, and for thinking through and asking for guidance on the next steps of your vision. And that is, it's really helpful. You'd be surprised if you just, my mentor, Annalena, she says, if you use wonder questions, which also is from Gay Hendricks' book, The Big Leap. And it's like, if you use those quiet moments or those in-between moments of life to ask wonder questions, like, I wonder how whatever your big dream is could become a reality. I wonder what someone who's already living that dream would be doing right now. I wonder where someone who's living that dream would be doing research or what organizations they would be part of, like things like that, because that'll get your mind thinking in terms of searching for your next steps towards your vision. And then also there's something to be said about being in a state of surrender and detachment. So hold on to that big vision, hold on to that big dream if it still feels aligned in your heart. But also, like we said the other day, be open to it being even bigger than what you could have even imagined, even better than what you could have ever imagined. Because that's when you allow miracles to actually flow into your life, and you allow yourself to experience just the magic that is part of this human experience if you're open to it. You're not going to experience the magic if you go through life grumbling all the time, especially grumbling about luxuries that we have. And I know that things are not always easy, and I'm not saying, to bypass the hard things or just try to, gaslight yourself or psych yourself out. What I am saying is, yes, it is okay to recognize that things could be better, and it is okay to want something different or something better, while also being in a state of gratitude for what is. Because if you're not in a state of gratitude for what is, there's resistance there, and that resistance to what is currently in your life is going to block anything magical that wants to come in, any transformations that want to come in, unless, there's an act of grace, which also exists, which in and of itself is magical, that exists. There are times where even when we're resisting, even when we're griping and groaning and, just not okay with where we're at in life, sometimes you get blessed with a stroke of grace. And that grace, that's why it is grace. It's totally undeserved, it's totally unexpected, and it delivers you right out of where you're at. So, let's see. I think that might be it for today. Yeah. I think that's a good time to stop. And I will turn on the heat tomorrow and be out here to greet you yet again. And we'll take it from there and see what wants to come through tomorrow. All right. Until then, I hope you are well. And if I really would love to hear what's going on with you. Like, drop it in the comments below. Send me a DM on my Instagram account. It's the only difference between Instagram and YouTube is it's at new_eyes_open. But yeah, would love to hear from you if this landed in your life and if it resonated, and if you feel like sharing. Make it feel like it's not so lonely on the other side. And I think that's probably going to be a video topic here soon. So I hope you'll come back. I hope you'll join us. And until then, like I said, be well. I wish you all the best.